Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to this review of the Tier 5 German SPG, the Grille, or Cricket. Historically, this is basically just a way of using up obsolete Panzer 35T chassis by mounting a dirty great big gun on them, and voila, you have artillery support. Due to its small size, the ammunition capacity was fairly limited, so there were some ideas to try and get around that problem. But basically it's just a 15cm howitzer on top of a Panzer 35T chassis. What do you get in game? Well, I could talk about a whole bunch of these stats, but most of them are irrelevant in the context of artillery. Well, not irrelevant, but not as relevant as they might otherwise be in the context of artillery. 240 hit points, this is tier 5, that means that for most people shooting at you, you're going to be in the sort of 2-shot range. Maybe 3. For some of the larger guns you meet at that tier, like the 90mm guns, some of the French have, for example, and the new Japanese heavy tanks, the 100mm gun that they get, or people shooting HE, you might find that you do get 1 shot sometimes. 150 horsepower engine on a 12-ton tank does mean that the horsepower to ton ratio leaves a little bit to be desired, which isn't a massive issue, but it does mean that, like a lot of artillery, you should notice a problem about to come on you before it actually reaches you so that you can relocate in time. Traverse speeds, nothing particularly special. Armour, I'm not going to go into Tank Inspector or anything to have a look at this. What do you need to know about the armour? It's bad. You'll get penetrated by pretty much everything that even looks at you, and if people aim at the superstructure, HE is a pretty much guaranteed penetration. Maybe if they aim at the hull of the tank, HE may not penetrate, but you shouldn't count on it. Talk about the gun a bit more in a moment. 310 meter view range, all of the artillery got their view range nerfed, so that is terrible, but nothing to be particularly surprised about. And a good signal range, meaning that you shouldn't lose track of where people are on the minimap. So this is an artillery, you really should be talking about the gun, that's kind of the whole point of this thing. You have 2 guns, the stock gun and the fully upgraded gun. Stock gun. This thing was used on the Bison and the Sturmpanzer II, so this should be a fairly, it should be a gun that you're used to. And then you've got the top gun. They're both 15cm guns. So what's the difference? Well, despite the fact that they're both the same caliber, the damage of the second gun is far higher, 680 with HE compared to 350. With the second gun, you get, sorry, I should say, you lose rate of fire, but you still have more damage. Basically, you get more accurate, aim faster, do more damage. It's a better gun. As soon as you can get rid of the stock gun, do so. What do you get with this thing? So 2.55 rounds a minute rate of fire. I don't have that many other tier 5 artillery pieces to compare it with, to be honest, but I mean, the raw DPM is not really why you play artillery. 75 penetration, 680 alpha damage. That puts it a little bit behind the 155mm gun on the M41, the American machine. But it's still fairly respectable, and for a reason I'll mention in a moment, that's very nice values indeed. 0.78 dispersion is not bad. 6-second aim time is also not bad. But it's not really these characteristics per se that define how this gun fires. It's your very narrow gun traverse, plus your very high shell arc. Now that means that the range on this gun is a little limited. If you're trying to shoot across the map, you will sometimes notice that targets are out of range. But, much like the British SPGs, this high shell arc means that often your shells are coming and they are landing on top of people, so on people's top armour. And so you're more likely to get those penetrations, do a shed load of damage, and really wreck people's day if you are at long range. 2 types of ammo with this gun, HE and heat ammo. I don't personally pack any heat ammo. I guess you could for sort of close encounters, but I just stuck with HE when I was playing this tank. What sort of splash radius are you looking at? Well, if we look in the service tab, you are looking at a splash radius of 3.5 meters, which is kind of par for the course. It's really that high shell arc and the excellent accuracy when fully aimed of this gun compared to other tier 5 artillery pieces that you're kind of going for, and hopefully you'll see that in the replay that I've got to show you. Crew skills, equipment, well, crew skills, nothing particularly surprising. Camo is your friend. You might want to invest in 6th Sense on your commander, but camo for everyone else, basically. And as for your equipment, well, I mean, I just used grinding equipment on this, but you should probably be looking at an enhanced gun laying drive if you wanted proper equipment on this. An enhanced gun laying drive, a medium caliber artillery shell rammer, even though it's a 15cm gun. The third slot, it's kind of up to you, to be honest. It's open top, so you can't use vents. Possibly actually a spore liner to give you a bit more protection from counter battery fire, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Maybe a camo net or binos, just so you can occasionally scout if the situation requires it. That'd probably be my recommendations. But the only two bits of equipment that I'd really recommend, I guess, are the enhanced gun laying drive and the gun rammer. Consumables, I've got nothing special. I mean, I guess I've never used the fire extinguisher on this thing, so you could try and invest in maybe chocolate if you wanted to up the all-round capabilities of your crew, and or fuel if you wanted it to go a bit faster, but these are all becoming very expensive options for a tier 5 tank, so I can't really say I particularly recommend those options, but they are just available to you if you would like. Not going to talk about armour, as I said, or anything like that, or critical hit locations. There really doesn't seem much point, so the only thing left to really mention is the grind. Well, we're looking at the German artillery line. There's a couple of different ways of getting up to the Grille. You can see that the artillery line splits at tier 3. Basically, you then have a choice of either taking from this tier 2 that I can't even pronounce, that's a terrible little machine. You can then either go through the Bison or the Sturmpanzer 2, or you can go through the Vesp and the PZSFL-4B. I found that while these tanks, especially the PZSFL, tended to have a wider gun traverse, it also had much longer aim time, or it felt like a much longer aim time. So actually, personally, I'd probably recommend the Bison and the Sturmpanzer 2. Well, at least I preferred those machines to play. When you get to the actual Grille itself, how many modules carry over? Well, this gun does not, so you're left with the stock gun. The radios, I don't think they carry over. It doesn't look like they carry over from the previous machines. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They're not the sort of thing you're really going to get excited about. Although you do want to get rid of this stock radio as soon as you can. That one, the second radio is just about adequate. The top radio will do the job, because as artillery you will get situations where you're quite a long way from allies potentially, and so you want to stay in radio range as much as you can. The top engine is used from the Marder 38T, so if you've played that tank that will carry over. But really, you're looking at quite a stock tank when you get it, which can be a little frustrating if you haven't played some of the other German tech lines. I mean, it's a tier 5, these modules don't take a horrendous amount of time to unlock, and of course that's slightly improved by the fact that, I guess, it's artillery, so it's not as if your lackluster stock engine is going to really bite you on the bum. So it's not too horrendous. Having rambled on, I think long enough, because there isn't really much to say about artillery in the garage, if we're going to be honest. Let's just go and have a look at some gameplay. So here's the game I wanted to show you. As you can see, we're top tier, and we're on Himmelsdorf. Now, this is the reason I specifically wanted to show you this replay, because Himmelsdorf is generally considered to be one of the worst maps to have in the game if you are driving an artillery piece. And it doesn't take a genius to work out why. You've got loads and loads of cover absolutely everywhere. Now, the Grille, as I mentioned in the garage, has a very high shell arc, which means that actually is not as hampered by mere pitiful things such as buildings as most artillery pieces are. It's a little bit like kind of the Bishop and some of the British SPGs in that respect. So, you can shoot targets that think they're safe when they're not, and unlike machines such as the Bishop, you have a tier 5 artillery gun worthy of the name. As in you have, lots of damage to go along with that. Now, I've come down from the hill. I was initially toying with the idea of trying to shoot over the hill and shoot down at sort of A0 where some of their artillery are likely to be, but in practice, the spawn I was on, you get the cover in a slightly different arrangement, so you can't really fling shells over the hill in quite the same way that you can from the northern spawn. This is an encounter game, of course, by the way. So instead, I'm moving down to this side of the church, and we're going to fling shells up onto the hill. Now, you have to be a little bit careful when doing this, because the region of the hill that you can actually hit is somewhat limited. Hello, Mr. Chinukai, how are you today? Just waiting for him to give me a good shot at him. In fact, I may not even get a shot on him at all. Churchill might pick up the kill, which is fine if he does. Then again, maybe I will get a shot on him. Take the shot, and we miss. There you go. This is looking decidedly dicey, because it looks like our guys up on the hill have become enveloped. What was I saying? I can't remember. Yeah, oh yes, your shots up onto the hill, you have a very limited area where you can shoot, because you have that kind of tower in the way. Looks, T-34, see if we can take out the Looks as he's on full health. Yeah, we get a near miss for about 200 damage, which was still over half his health. So it'd be churlish for me to complain too much. Now, I'm desperately trying to fling shots up onto that hill, because I thought that our guys needed help up there. As it is, our tanks up there appear to have managed to bully their way through. It was just, well, there's now only a Looks left to challenge them, and the tanks who are up there shouldn't have particular difficulties dealing with a Looks. Just spotted the enemy bishop. I reckon he's about there. Bit of a blind shot. And we're rewarded with the kill. That was a bit of a jammy shot, firstly because the shell went where I aimed it, but also because I judged the lead on it correctly. I mean, judging lead on many shots, including when you use artillery, often comes down to be more about educated guesswork rather than actually, you know, calculating exactly where you think it's going to be. And hello, Mr. Looks, how are you today? Are you good? I hope you are good. Shotgun him, and that's kill number 2. And that leaves a Churchill 3, KV-1, Su-85, and an M41 howitzer motor carriage. And now we're capping the friendly base. The shared base. This is an encounter game after all, so this game hasn't actually gone too badly. And as you can see, even with this good shell arc, there are plenty of places on this map that give me problems. You know, that I can't really hit, but you're nowhere near as hampered as you are with some artillery pieces. Now, as you're probably aware, my highest tier artillery is the tier 8 French artillery, and once you've ground up the French line with their very shallow shell trajectory, you really do value these high arcing shells that you get on predominantly the British, but also in this case on the Grille. Now, our guys who were in the cap have actually managed to die. I say managed to, as if it was something they were trying to do. Of course they weren't. But there we go. And there's just this M41 and KV-1 left. KV-1, I'm just trying to get a bead on this guy. Taking forever to aim because, you know, still artillery. Can I get a base reset? Would be really nice if I could. And there we go. 181 to reset the base. And blow off the KV-1's tracks into the bargain. So it's our friendly KV-1 and the 2 artillery pieces versus the enemy KV-1 and 1 artillery piece. And I'm thinking at this point of coming up behind the KV-1 and trying to derp him in the bum, but our KV-1 sets him on fire. So that's not really an issue anymore. M41, don't know exactly where he is, but he could be up in this top left corner. He could also be up in the top right corner. There's a few different places he could be. I don't really know, but I am going to go looking for him, because I'd quite like to kill him. And there we go. M41 takes a shot, revealing his position, and he's now going to be reloading for the next 20 odd seconds. Panzer SFL-4B takes a shot but misses, and I just wait for my gun to aim, take the shot, and nuke the M41. And that was the game. Not too shabby. let's go and see how well we did. So, Tier 5 artillery piece on Himmelsdorf of all maps, and we managed to walk away with our first class mastery and a bruiser. You often get bruiser in artillery pieces. We managed to come third on our team with 758 base experience, 1101 damage, and those 3 kills. In terms of damage, we came second on our team, and in fact second in the whole game. We had a few people at the bottom of the team who didn't do any damage, but the rest of us were able to carry sufficiently to pull that through as a win. Congratulations to the friendly KV1 with his 1600 damage count. That is a nice result from him. 6 shots fired, 3 hits, 3 pens, 3 splashes for that 1101 damage count. And actually in that game a surprising amount of it was from relatively close range. That's Himmelsdorf for you. We even picked up some assistance damage on the KV1, or that'll be when we decapped and tracked him. With a standard account, we'd have made a 16,000 credit profit. We were running premium at the time, I think because of a mission or something. And so we actually had a 26,000 credit profit, times 3 experience event on at the time, to net us 3,500 XP for that win. So it ended up being a pretty nice game, despite the fact that it was on Himmelsdorf. So this machine can still perform, even when the map is a little dubious. Well, my verdict on this, I think it is one of the 2 best Tier 5 artillery pieces. The other candidate, in my opinion, being the Bishop, the British Tier 5 SPG. Yes, it's got a narrow gun traverse. Yes, the machine is a little bit sluggish, but the high gun arc, the nice alpha damage, the really small size, I didn't mention this before, but because you're mounted on the chassis of a light tank, this thing's titch. It's a very small target to shoot at. All combined to mean that I think this is one of the best Tier 5 artillery pieces. Whether it's the best or not will come down to a matter of preference for you. Am I keeping it? No, because if I was going to go out in a Tier 5, I would rather not play artillery. I just find artillery gameplay to be rather kind of dull. I have plenty of Tier 5s that are not this. So it's not a keeper for me, but it might be for you, and it's certainly, as far as artillery goes, it's one of the more reliable machines to play, and it comes as quite a nice change of pace, because the lower tier German artillery I found a bit generally speaking, if I'm honest, but you know, never mind. That's basically everything I have to say on the tank. As I mentioned, it's a short review because there isn't that much to say about artillery, so I hope you guys enjoyed that review, possibly even found it vaguely informative, probably just looked at it and went, oh my god, it's artillery! Burn it! But whatever. If you did enjoy it, please feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.